Alright, we're going to real quick show how to get at the shift pucks, the shift dampers in a Puch ZA50 motor. We're going to use a big flathead, a impact wrench, good sized one. This is a 1/2 inch, 15 millimeter socket, and I think it's a 19, but we'll find out when we get in there, and a large pair of wire cutters. First thing, take out the 6 bolts. Well, first thing, drain the engine of oil. You can do this on the bike, or it's easier on a stand. These flathead screws are on the perimeter, 6 of them. Be real careful not to strip these out, so make sure you use a real large flathead. In fact, this one's even a little bit small that fits into them real nice and snug. Get good pressure straight onto them and break them loose. Alright, these I already took out, obviously. There's 6 of them. Take the side cover off, inspect the bearings, replace them if you have to. Take this gasket off. You'll probably want to replace it. Sometimes these come off real good, like this one came off real good, it just broke. Maybe you can reuse it, but don't be a cheap ass. Replace it. You're going to take off this. This is kind of the bugaboo of ZAs. This is what kind of screws everyone up when they try to work on these things, or one of the many things. 15 millimeter nut. It forms the center hub of the one-way clutch. So the one-way clutch actually consists of these little rollers. You can see them there, which turn one way and don't the other way. This nut is reverse threaded. Ideally, you want to use an impact socket, a heavy-duty impact wrench, and it's going to be in the forward direction. So if you hit this thing with the impact in the reverse direction and tighten it up, it's going to make it a lot harder to take it off later. Guess how I know that? So what you want to do, this isn't supported real well, it's just hanging off those bearings all the way back. So you want to make sure you get a really good grip on it with a rag. It's usually how I do it, and try to cushion and support as much as possible. Impact wrench in the forward direction, and it'll just pop it right off. Now, I had already broken that one loose for the sake of the video, but it didn't take much more than that, just a couple good hits with the impact wrench. Next thing, you'll take this clutch bell off, making sure to keep track of any shims. I already removed them because I'd had this thing apart prior to the video. Now, this nut, this is the next part. The pucks, you can actually see them. Well, I can't see them, but they would be inside of here. The next nut, that is not 19. Let's see, what is that? That might be like a 21. Nope. That guy. That's actually a 15/16, fits it really well, so whatever that works out to in metric, but that's a nice snug fit on there. Normally don't use standard sockets on metric, but in this case it's a good tight fit. This keeper is a little bent up piece of steel that's resting against the face of the nut, keeps it from loosening up. And if you don't bend it back into position when you're done, it will do just that, and it will take out your transmission and shoot your bearing out through your side cover if you're not lucky. So the easiest way to get this thing out is I'm pushing hard into it with these diagonal cutters and just kind of using them as a little lever to kind of lever it out. And then once you get it to pop up like that, you're just going to kind of work it flat with that screwdriver. And, oh, yikes. Should have that moped factory engine stand bolted down. Once you have those keepers up enough that you can get that nut on there most of the way, sometimes you can kind of finish it up by giving a little tap, tap, taparoo. This one is standard thread, or conventional thread. So you're going to be doing reverse on your impact wrench with this one and pop it right off. Be real careful with this guy, because this actually has splines cut into the threads on here, and I've gotten ZAs before from ham-fisted mechanics that have actually tore these threads up because they didn't get that nut seated squarely on there. Pay attention, keep the nuts, washers, all that together. There's a little stepped washer here that's really important, And then this is going to be your opportunity to flip your second speed clutch, and there you go. And then that's your what the heck do you call that thing? Starter clutch. That's your starter clutch plate. And then this guy just comes sliding right off gently with that. And there you go. The next step will be putting this thing in a vise and actually using a really, really large screwdriver. Once again, I've actually got one that has a hex flat on it. I jammed in there and I put a wrench on it because these things are usually really, really tight, and they use some kind of gnarly, ancient German Loctite on them. And this actually isn't totally destroyed, which this bike was probably sitting in the basement of a building for the last 40 years. So sometimes these pucks aren't destroyed, but after they've been sitting for a while, the oil makes them brittle, and as soon as you put this into service, I can put this thing back together right now, get that bike running, and if I took it apart after about 50 miles, those pucks would all be in here, chewed up in the gears, and it'd be banging back and forth. So once again, very important to have these. They literally keep your gears from banging off of each other and tearing up your transmission. Your ZA50 will not last very long at all, especially kitted without them. So good to know. Super simple to get at them as long as you've got an impact wrench. And if you don't, geez, find somebody that does, because without it, you're going to really be hating life trying to get this apart. So hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks.